Hi there, Leith Anderson here with Eric Jones, and today in this video we're going to talk about how radar is going to change your life. That's especially true if you happen to be a PGA teaching pro like Eric, one of my dearest compadres. How long has it been, Eric? What a mission we've been on this summer, huh?
Absolutely. It's been fun, fascinating, and rewarding in many ways.
Unbelievable, considering where we started. You know, we were out there drawing circles on the face of a driver, and that was like technology.
That's right. Boy,
Wow.
how things have changed.
They have changed. Well, you know, the first thing everybody's going to want to know about is, this is really only about business, you know, but how has radar changed your business?
That's a really good question because I've just really introduced radar to my business recently this summer. As we started to partner up and as we partnered up with FlightScope. And it's fundamentally changed my business in three ways. First of all, it's allowed me to serve my students better at a higher level because they're learning faster and they're getting better information and feedback from the radar. So I'm serving my students better. Second, it's allowed me to create a whole bunch of new kinds of programs. I've moved away completely from the transactional model, one lesson at a time, and I now have programs where people are coming monthly and they're paying monthly. So that's been fantastic. A whole new set of lessons, if you would, not even lessons, but just programs. And then third thing is, it's had a substantially positive impact on my income.
Well, that's the whole idea, is a new, completely new revenue stream.
Right.
So describe, if you would, when you say improve the experience for your students. Like, could you give an example of a dramatic change that's happened that radar has been responsible for that would not have happened otherwise?
Lots of examples, and we'll start with the one that kind of kicked it all off. I had a student who was in a monthly coaching program with me, and I'm seeing him every week, and we've been trying to change his outside-in swing to an inside-out swing. 3 months, moderate success. Put him on a radar system, gave him feedback shot by shot, 30 minutes, every swing, inside out.
So that, for you, that was like almost witnessing a miracle.
It was. I mean, we worked hard on changing it, but it really wasn't until he got the feedback and saw the results from the radar that he was able to do it in a way that made more sense to him, and that was phenomenal. So that was, you know, 10 to 20 times faster than traditional teaching. That was the first model. And then we started to say, well, if this is working for him, I put a bunch more students on the radar, worked for them, and then we started to put together these clinics.
Right.
And as soon as we started getting these guys on the clinics, lo and behold, they think we're dispensing miracles, because we'll get a guy who's outside in, downward angle of attack, open club face, hitting a weak fade, and we'll change him to hitting a high draw in 30 minutes, and we have had 100% success.
And that is really the starting point. Now, we didn't do that at the very beginning. We didn't do quite that. We were kind of worried a little bit about where the start had to be, but we found that giving a real good in-depth experience for a very inexpensive price really led to a terrific conversion rate.
Well, that's the other thing that I've done with my business is I've set things up in a funnel system. So in other words, I have a low-priced introductory program that they can get in, a clinic where they can come, they can experience what radar is. It gives me a chance to introduce them to the screen, the concepts, teach them what it means about club path, face angle, angle of attack, spin rates, smash factors. So I get to see that, and then because it's graphic, they also get to see the results, so I get to introduce them to that. And then when they start to see some improvement based on their own feedback and their own adjustments, they just fall in love with it immediately. So I've got this low-cost, low-entry funnel, and then right behind that, this is where the programs come in. I say, look, you know, if you enjoyed this, you should sign up for a program and come out here on a monthly basis or a regular basis and get involved in this, because it's only going to help your game.
Well, isn't that really what's been missing all along? With players who are serious about getting better at golf have always assumed in any other discipline there would be a program offered, but there's never been a program that has said, do these following 10 or 20 hours of activities and you will get better. We've thought through it.
And that's one of the things that I cover with the students when they come and we start talking about, okay, so what do you do in radar? So we talk about how we're going to work with their driver and optimize their drive results. And then once you start breaking the game down, you're looking at scoring wedges, and not only are we going to gap their scoring wedges, but we're going to teach them how to do a 3/4 shot, gap that as well. And then we go to irons and we break the irons down to mid irons and long irons. And long irons, boy, we'll tell you, we got a lot of work to do on long irons. And then we look at hybrids, fairway metals, and then we also talk to them about a complete, what we call a yardage guide, or bag gapping, a complete bag gapping, and we give them maximum, minimum, average yardage, and then their miss, and then we teach them how to go play with that.
Yeah, and so that whole concept of becoming better at golf is multidimensional. You got to have more information, which is easy to get when you have the radar telling you.
Well, it's impossible to get without radar.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It's a new tool. It's been used historically, almost always in fitting, but it's never really been used for teaching.
Yeah.
And so we're adapting it. We're coming up with new teaching protocols, new ways to teach with radar, new programs to teach with radar, and I actually have 3 of them. So the other thing that this has done for my business is twofold. Well, I told you earlier that I'm helping my students better because they're getting better feedback, which is great. Yeah. But the other thing is that I actually, because I have 3 radar units, it's lower cost for them per hour to be with me because they have 3 units, but my revenue doubles.
Yeah. So you can have somebody just paying $45 an hour, and that's a bargain for that kind of instruction, and you've got 5 more just like them.
Exactly.
That makes a good hour.
So you get 6 guys paying, $50 an hour. All of a sudden, I'm up to $300 an hour. But for them, it's half price or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a good deal for them. But this is where the great business model comes in. But the other thing is, I'm moving away from the straight transactions. It's the transactional model. Come here, take a lesson, go practice. I'll see you later. That's not the point.
Who wants that anyway? I mean, you want to be a part of a program where you can keep track of your performance, keep track of your improvement. And that really leads to this whole new concept of radar training as something that's never been done before.
It's a new category. So that's the other thing that radar has done. I mean, traditionally we have instruction or teaching, right? It's all the same thing. We try to get you to change your movement, and that changes impact, etc. But we have this whole new category now called training. So there's a whole nother level of service that we can sell. Yes, we can teach you how to move and how to make better contact and how to do all that stuff. Then once we teach you, then we need to train you. So there's the natural secondary upsell right into the program model, which says, don't just take 1 lesson. Once we got you doing this correctly, let's perfect it.
So then you're really looking for a whole different kind of attitude when it comes to approaching a golf swing.
Absolutely. I want the students to adjust based on impact, and that's the nice thing about radar is really method independent. It doesn't matter if you're a stack and tilt, a 1-plane, 2-plane teacher. It doesn't matter if you teach natural golf. It doesn't matter. The numbers come up on impact. You get the numbers for impact, and you work with that. If you teach a method, it doesn't matter. Radar is agnostic, and so that's part of the cool thing is. It doesn't matter what your teaching style is once you start focusing on impact. And we've been calling impact the moment of truth forever. And the cool thing about radar is we're now changing impact directly. So that's the part that's one of the reasons they improve so fast.
So just the big miracle behind the whole thing is you tell the player that if you want that perfect high draw, you need a 3-degree inside out swing for your swing. And then you tell him every swing that he gets closer to it, and then finally when he does it, he can practice that.
Exactly, and so that's the art for the teachers. We know the numbers, so once we get the numbers, and then you, the teacher, you put your twist on it, your art to it, apply that to it, and then teach them how to move and how to get to those numbers. Right, that's where there's the perfect synergy. And the cool thing is, if you do that and you use radar, I think all the PGA pros are going to have more success, better success, faster.
Hey there, Eric. Well, that was like you could call a pretty forceful stream of information, and we're going to be doing this in the future now, aren't we? We're not going to give up on Radar Chronicles, are we?
No.
We want some guys to come along with us. This is kind of a missionary piece of work. What's been going on? We've seen the future, and we're excited about it, and we want to really talk about it. So, Eric, now the one thing that is always a big question when it comes to marketing a new program and trying to tell people about it is, how do you get that message across? I mean, this is not the kind of thing, there's no book on it, it doesn't get on the sports pages, How do you make that happen?
Well, first of all, people are starting to become more aware of radar and what it is because they see the top tour pros out there with radars, working with their coaches, working on what they call their numbers.
Yeah.
So people are becoming more aware of it, but I think the way to do it for me, and the way we do it, is to structure low cost or no cost introductions. So we can do a 20-minute free video or free radar analysis where we'll give them their basic ballistics and then say, if you're interested, why don't you come to our clinic? And then we structure a small clinic of 6 players on 3 radars. We do that for a couple of hours, and that's, you know, $35 to $50 depending on where we are. So that gets them to, you know, get their checkbook out and start to pay. But remember, one of the things that we do when we get in these radar clinics is we spend more time. We call them a driver optimization clinic. So we work exclusively on just the driver. In that clinic, we cover all of the other areas, or we mention to the students all of the other areas that they can get help on with radar in their game. So they get to see the bigger picture. They fall in love with radar because most of them don't really know what it is.
Well,
and
isn't the big thing is that they got an improvement right away, like within the first 2 hours.
Right.
They're going away hitting a high draw when they used to be slicers,
right.
And they don't believe it, and
Yeah.
they're afraid that if they don't come back next week, they'll turn into a pumpkin or something like that.
So that's the good news. They fall in love with it right away. So the whole point there is to have a whole series of upsells. Get them in the door. Start the funnel going. Hold free clinics or hold free seminars. Or
Do a study. How about doing a study? Doesn't
well, that's one of the other things that we did. Yeah, we did a study and we got a tremendous response from that. And the guys that didn't get into the study are now in our programs, which is fantastic.
The guys that were in turned into missionaries themselves, you know,
Absolutely.
true believers. So.
Yeah. So that's the process that we use. So once we get people in for our $50 clinic, and again, we got 6 people in a clinic for paying $50 on 3 radars. So it's decent money for just a clinic, right? And then we upsell them into what we call packages or packs. So they were punch cards. So they'll buy a series of 5 or 10 sessions, and then we
2 hours.
Each of which is 2 hours, and then we have 2 guys working on 2 machines. So in essence, what happens for me is I'll have 6 guys here working on 3 machines, and what I can do is bounce back and forth and provide coaching. I don't have to devote 100% of my time to any one of the guys, and sometimes as a group we learn something. But all of a sudden now their cost goes down. I'm all of a sudden in this program now because my revenue is more. It goes more, right? So all of a sudden I'm making $400 to $500 an hour on my lessons when I'm here, and the guys are getting better, but it's still less expensive for them.
Yeah.
So that's the model that we want to go to. Get them into the upsells and get them in, introduce them to radar, make sure they understand what it is and what it can do. And by the way, not all radar is created equal. I mean, they got to be looking at a high-end radar like the flight scopes that we use or a TrackMan, but you know, for my money, we use the flight scopes. You know, the $99 ones don't give you path, they don't give you attack angle, they don't give you face angle, they don't give you any of that stuff.
Well, the main thing is you have to be, if you're going to give somebody face angle and swing path advice, you know that number's got to be spot on, and when you align it through the camera to a distant object, it's fine.
You have a lot of
confidence in the numbers.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence in the numbers.
Yeah, and so that makes it a lot easier to have that conversation with the clients.
So with that, that's a good start. We're going to continue to do this, Radar Chronicles. Some of
Absolutely.
these guys probably want to know how it's going to come out, you know.
We'll keep them updated. But I mean, that's part of my job as a leader in the PGA is to make other PGA pros aware of, number one, new technology, new applications of old technology, and new ways to help them in their business and to help their students.
Yeah.
This, to me, is a win-win-win all the way around.
So one way or the other, if you're in the PGA, you're going to have to pay attention to radar.
I'm going to predict in 5 years, if you don't have a radar and you're not teaching with radar, no one's going to want to talk to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Huge.
It's the future of teaching.